Okay, so I had a comment on one of my older videos about doing this exact play on a clipboard because what I was showing in that video was basically my team from a few years ago running a really tight 2-3 zone defense which was really successful for us because it allowed us to get a lot of steals and defensive rebounds, forced teams to shoot a lot of threes, and as soon as they shot, we would be able to get some fast break layups. So let's get down and let's check this out, and so I can show you what we did to become very successful a few years ago with a U13, U14, and U15 basketball team. Okay, so I've just set this up with a regular average zone offense where you've got a high post, low post, and two wings plus the ball. On defense, we have our 2-3 zone defense, 3 in the back, 2 up front. And what we really want to do, and we ran this 2 different ways, so I'm going to show you both different ways. And essentially what we did was we always want to close that top. We want to make sure that our bottom 3 are super tight. And we want to be able to leave players open to bait that offensive team into taking 3-point shots. So normally in a 2-3 zone, you would have these guys spread out, player 2 maybe covering the high post, and we would generally be like this. Now, if that pass was to go over here, normally you would have player 4 shadowing until player 1 got there, in which case then player 4 would then move back down. Some teams will get others into trouble with this, so after they make this pass, we would sometimes we'll see player 1 making a cut to the corner, and this is generally an open 3-point shot. Now, there's ways of mitigating this as well. Player 1 needs to be faster, player 4 just needs to follow that corner player, and of course, that pass may or may not be there. Either way, this is what a lot of teams will try and do against a 2-3 zone. Now, we ran this 2 different ways. Player 3 will be covering essentially these 2 players. Player 5 is going to be covering these 2 players. And we would have player 4 covering the mid-range area. We may run him a bit higher, maybe, to try and steal. But generally speaking, we would want him near the key. We want to try and bait teams into taking threes. Other ways that we would run this is we would have player 1 on the point and player 2 front facing player 4. We would actually run this very successfully, and we did this probably 80% of the time of us running a tight 2-3. Obviously, we're not running the exact same play the entire game. We would run this at certain points, but I'm not going to give you the complete strategy how I would run it or at what points, but I'm going to give you the exact strategy as to how to actually run the zone. If they were to pass to player 3 and player 3 was to take that 3-point shot, we would want player 1, because he's the farthest to the other team's basket, to leak out down court. As soon as we got that rebound, we would pass down court as fast as possible, and it got us a ton of points. In fact, I had one single player who, for about a 6-game streak, had over 20 points a game just purely on outletting that ball down court. Because he was the fastest on the team, we would get that rebound, we wouldn't even dribble because that's what you're supposed to do, get that rebound and just chuck it down court right away. That was our goal, that was our strategy, and that's exactly what we did after we got a steal or a defensive rebound. If this pass was to go to player 2, as an example, we would have player 3 shadowing, but we would give him enough space to be able to shoot the ball. Obviously, this is a zone that you would not be running against a team that can shoot. Player 5 would cover down. Player 1 at this point would be covering the high post. I really do not want that ball going into the high post. We would have player 2 out, and player 3 would be then fronting player 5. So then we have 2 guys on the low post, 1 guy front facing the high post, and player 4 looking for any cross-court passes. There are times where teams will look for that cross-court pass to player 3, in which case player 4 will pick that off all game long and go down court. This is a great zone to be able to run against a big team or a team that just can't shoot in general. Again, the idea generally in most cases, and it didn't always work out like this, but we would always have at least 4 players who are within a foot of the key, with only 1 player who is out of the key guarding the ball. If the ball was swung back to player 1, then player 1 red would be out of the key, and player 2 would be front facing that high post. If they switched, it doesn't matter. Player 2 would again be front facing. We would have now the overload of 3 defensive players on this side, where if they passed over here, we would have player 2 cover outside, player 1 front face, and again, Player 4 then moves down to cover that postman. Again, 4 guys in the key, 1 guy out of the key, which then allows us to be able to overplay the key and basically forces teams to shoot as much as possible. I've ran this a few times with younger teams as well, not just U13, 14, 15 teams. However, with younger teams, it almost feels like cheating because a lot of younger teams, like let's say U11 teams or U12 teams, a lot of teams are unable to shoot the ball. And while you may be saying that you can't run zones at those younger ages, and here in Ontario, you can at the rep level or AAU level. So this is actually a pretty good strategy to run with younger kids if you're able to as well. So definitely make sure to go check out my deadly defensive strategies that are down in the description below. Also, make sure to go check out my Unbeatable Basketball Zone Defense book that is down there as well. And I'll see you guys again in my next video.